Welcome to Pennsylvania in Focus. I'm Aliana Carnodal. Vice President Kamala Harris held a rally in Philadelphia on Tuesday night in her first official appearance with her new running mate, Democratic Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Joining me to tell us more about this is the Center Square's Pennsylvania editor, Kristen Smith. Kristen, Governor Josh Shapiro was in the running, considered for the position of her running mate, but in the end, he wasn't chosen, but he was there at the rally in Philadelphia with them this Tuesday. What did he have to say?
He was very excited and enthusiastic about the ticket, did not show any signs of being a sore loser, though he really wouldn't. He's what you think of as kind of your stereotypical, almost perfectly professional candidate. And he was there to amp up the crowd. You know, he was denouncing former President Donald Trump, as he did in a rally with Kamala Harris in the last couple of weeks. And he repeated a very popular refrain that's kind of risen up since Harris assumed the top of the ticket, and that is, you know, we're not going back. And Shapiro said, not only are we not going back, we are not going into the future with him, and him is obviously Trump. So, you know, Shapiro said he's more optimistic than ever before. He, like all other Democrats, fell in line behind Harris and Minnesota Governor Walz. And so it definitely changes the dynamic in Pennsylvania as far as the election goes. We're 90 days out at this point, so much can happen, so much can change. But it's definitely an interesting development. Walz kind of came in there at the very end. And his choice, although by the time that Monday afternoon rolled around and it was announced, seemed obvious in the days leading up to it, it absolutely was not.
And Governor Shapiro, like I said, was really in the running till the very end. As you mentioned, it was not clear who it was going to be, but he seemed like a strong possibility. What's sort of the, I guess, speculation behind what happened there?
There was a lot of, not consensus, but discussion among political analysts and those in the know and, you know, watchers that Shapiro just had a lot of baggage with him for this election in particular that maybe Kamala Harris just really couldn't take a risk on. Widely reported and understood is that Shapiro has been really supportive of school vouchers. Now he's slowly backed away from that stance over the last 2 years or so since he campaigned for governor in 2022. And the reason that's important is because the teachers union obviously is staunchly opposed to vouchers. They spend a lot of money on Democratic candidates, and they would not want a vice president in the White House that supports school vouchers. Even on the record, they think that that would even hurt chances of winning the election. So there's that. Shapiro has a very pro-Israel stance. That's another thing that analysts thought might hurt Kamala Harris in the election. She obviously, there's a growing split in the Democratic Party about how to respond to the war in Gaza. And in particular, this is why Minnesota is also a very interesting choice. Kamala Harris needs to hold on to what is traditionally referred to as the blue wall, which is where a lot of states in the Rust Belt include, and Pennsylvania is generally included in that, they have traditionally gone Democratic. And so that's a very solid chunk of electoral votes that analysts believe Kamala Harris has to get in order to win this election. So she can't, if she has a state where there's a significant population that doesn't like the way that the government has responded to the war in Gaza, and she could potentially lose the state over it, such as a Minnesota or a Michigan, they just wouldn't want to take that risk. So I think those are the two very obvious on the record issues that many would have had with Shapiro on the ticket. Some more of the rumors, the whispers, the things that are kind of, they're substantiated but not have been officially discussed on the record. Shapiro had ties to, well, a top staffer in Shapiro's office resigned after he had to settle sexual harassment claims. Shapiro's office said that they thoroughly investigated it and handled it appropriately. There's been a lot of criticism that they didn't. There was a report over the weekend that seemed to substantiate those claims with records that showed that they had a much stronger hand in settling that issue and trying to settle it under the radar. So there was that. So those three issues really are something that would have been a challenge for Harris, given the party's platform of being very focused on reproductive rights and being very pro-woman and being really supportive. You know, their platform has always focused on a tent that involves that's very diverse, and so they have a lot of very diverse opinions and beliefs that they need to appease, and so that made Harris's decision very important given the significant electoral college challenge that she has to overcome here.
Well, Kristen, thank you for your insights on this story. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com.